Hello, and welcome back to Fem Life. If you'd like to support me, please use my affiliate links mentioned below. Every purchase you make will bring me closer to my gender transition. Jerry, George, and Elaine are seated at a table in a Manhattan coffee shop. George asks, "What's got you down today? You look like you're about to break up with your girlfriend." "You mean Darlene?" Jerry responds. "Yeah. No, that's not it. We're actually getting along fine," Jerry says. "Why? Have you heard something?" "Not at all. It's just been about 10 days since you met her," George explains. Elaine chimes in, "Your girlfriends are like yogurt, they come with an expiry date." "That's not true," Jerry protests. "Darlene's fine. It's not about her." "So, what's bothering you?" George presses. "It's the gigs I had last night and over the weekend," Jerry admits. "What about them?" Elaine inquires. "They were awful. The audiences were terrible. My routines don't work in noisy places where people are playing pool or listening to a jukebox." "No wonder. It's tough to get laughs in those conditions," Elaine sympathizes. "I bombed. It was really disheartening." "So what?" George responds. "You know the saying, when you fall off a horse, the best thing is to get back on. Don't let it get to you. You'll do better next time." "I don't think it's just self-doubt," Jerry says. "Then what is it?" Elaine asks. "I need a change. My agent keeps booking me into venues where I can't perform well." "But you've worked those places before," Elaine points out. At that moment, Kramer bursts into the cafe, spotting the group and hurrying over to their table. "Hey, everyone!" Kramer exclaims. "Hi, Kramer," Jerry replies, relieved for the distraction from his problems. George and Elaine greet Kramer as well. Kramer pulls out a chair and sits down with an excited look. Jerry says, "I'm guessing you've got news?" "Absolutely. I saw an amazing magic act at Murphy's last night. There's this young illusionist who's out of this world. You have to see her." "Who is she?" Elaine asks. "Her name is Jillian. She's incredible, her levitation tricks are like nothing you've ever seen. She's brand new to the scene, still a student. But I talked to her after the show, and guess what?" "What?" the friends ask in unison. "You're looking at New York's next big showbiz impresario. I'm now Jillian's new agent." "Congratulations, Kramer," Elaine says with enthusiasm. George and Jerry smile, nodding in amazed agreement. "I'm telling you, Jillian is going to be huge. Her illusions are mind-blowing. She had this enormous guy, like a hippo, come on stage, and she made him vanish right in front of us. It was incredible. I have no idea how she pulled it off." "Well, Kramer, now that you're a theatrical agent, maybe you could help Jerry out," Elaine suggests. Jerry gives Elaine a skeptical look. "What can I do for you, Jerry?" Jerry reluctantly admits, "I'm not happy with some of the clubs I've been performing at. They're just not the right fit for me." "I understand," Kramer says. "You need a venue with some class. A place where people come specifically for comedy. A place where the audience is there to listen and be entertained. Am I right?" "Exactly," Jerry responds, looking impressed. "The issue with some of the places you're performing is that they're multi-purpose venues. One night they're a karaoke bar, the next a cabaret, and then a dance club. They lack consistency and don't support comedy well." "That's exactly right," Jerry agrees, astonished by Kramer's insight. "Here's the deal, Jerry. I'll book you into some of New York's top comedy clubs. Venues where audiences come specifically for comedy." Jerry pauses, remembering Kramer's previous failed schemes. "I don't know, Kramer. I've been with my current agent for 5 years. Does he have an exclusive agreement with you? We have a contract, but it's not exclusive. Great. Here's what I'll do. Give me a list of your open dates, and I'll find new clubs for you. Any club where your current agent has already booked you is off limits for me. Any new place I find is mine. Deal? Kramer extends his hand. Jerry hesitates briefly. The standard 10%? Absolutely. Sounds good. They shake hands. Jerry thinks to himself, am I crazy? What did I just agree to? On the other hand, this is just another of Kramer's wild schemes. By next week, he'll be on to some new money-making idea. This too shall pass. The next evening, Kramer stops by Jerry's place. After knocking, he lets himself in. Hey Jerry, good thing I caught you at home. Hi Kramer, Jerry replies, pouring himself a cup of coffee at the kitchen counter. Used to Kramer's unannounced visits, Jerry offers, want some coffee? It's fresh instant. No thanks, Jerry, Kramer says. Can I use your place for a bit? My apartment's being steam cleaned and the carpet's still damp. I'm meeting with my new client. Jerry pauses, curious. Who's your new client? Jillian, the illusionist I told you about yesterday. Oh, right. The one you were so enthusiastic about. Can I use your apartment? Sure, Jerry agrees. Great, because I already gave Jillian your apartment number. George is coming over later, but we won't be here long. We're heading out to see a movie with Elaine and Darlene. Want to join us, Kramer? Thanks, Jerry, but tonight I'm out scouting for new talent to add to my roster. You're really committed to this, huh? I think I've finally found my true calling. Show business is thrilling. I love the entertainment world, finding new talent, exploring venues, making deals. I should have gotten into this long ago. It's all very exciting. There's a knock on the door. I'll get it, Kramer says eagerly. That must be Jillian. When Kramer opens the door, a stunning blonde woman in a low-cut, multicolored sundress stands on the doorstep. Jillian, come on in. Kramer calls out. He and Jillian share a warm embrace, exchanging showbiz kisses on both cheeks. Jerry, this is Jillian, my good friend. Welcome, Jillian. Jillian approaches Jerry, giving him a hug and kisses on both cheeks. It's a pleasure to meet you, Jerry. Jerry catches a whiff of Chanel perfume and feels the softness of Jillian's body, noting the electrifying energy in her kisses. The pleasure is mine, Jerry replies softly. He steps back to admire Jillian. You were right, Kramer. Jillian is stunning. And incredibly talented. Jillian is the best illusionist I've ever seen. Thank you for the kind words, Jillian says with a smile, then playfully extends her arm towards Jerry's ear as if to touch him. Jillian then steps back, revealing a silver dollar she's been hiding in her hand. Kramer was right about you, Jerry. Not only are you handsome and charming, but you're also a wealthy comedian. Very impressive, Jerry says, genuinely impressed. Thank you, Jillian responds softly. Jerry leads Jillian and Kramer into the neatly arranged living room. Kramer and Jillian take a seat on the couch while Jerry settles into an armchair. Kramer tells me you're his latest client, Jillian says. Yes, Jerry replies, puzzled. Stable? A 2-horse stable, he thinks. And Kramer is anything but stable. Kramer's client list seems to grow almost every day. Jillian gives Kramer's hand an encouraging squeeze. Jerry wants to explore new venues, so I'm going to help him get into some clubs he hasn't performed at before. You're a comedian, Jillian says. I've seen your act. You're very funny. The last time I saw you was at Club Improv on 42nd Street. Kenny Bania was there that night too. Oh yes, Kenny Bania, Jerry nods, remembering how much he dislikes Kenny, almost as much as Newman. Can I get you a coffee? Fresh instant. No, thank you. How about you, Kramer? Not right now, Jerry, Kramer replies. Actually, I need to discuss your contract with you. You mentioned having an agreement with your current agent. I need to review that document to ensure I'm not infringing on any of his rights. Jerry looks momentarily puzzled. Right now? Yes, so I can also show Jillian what a standard agent's contract looks like. Oh, right, Jerry says, realizing what Kramer needs. The document is in a file box in my bedroom. Can we talk in your room for a moment? Kramer asks. Sure, Jerry replies. Excuse us for a moment, Jillian. Before leading Kramer to the bedroom, Jerry walks to the back wall and turns on the stereo. We'll be just a few minutes. Feel free to help yourself to the coffee. A Diane Krall jazz tune fills the room. I think I will take you up on that coffee, Jillian says, standing up from the couch. Please, help yourself, Jerry says as he and Kramer head toward the bedroom. Jillian finds the coffee pot and a mug on the kitchen counter and pours herself a cup. Just as she adds a teaspoon of sugar, there's a knock at the door. She considers telling Jerry about the visitor but quickly moves to answer the door. A balding, pudgy middle-aged man in a checkered shirt, khaki pants, and loafers stands in the hallway, looking slightly confused. He checks the apartment number across the hall. Hi, Jillian says. Hi, replies George. I thought I might have the wrong apartment, but this is 5A, Jerry's place. Oh, I'm just visiting. My name is Jillian. I'm George Costanza, he says, giving Jillian an appreciative glance. She looks stunning in her vibrant blue, green, and purple sundress. George's mind briefly wanders to thoughts of physical attributes. Are you Jerry's girlfriend? No, I'm here for a meeting with Kramer. You're not here to sign up for a fat-free yogurt franchise, are you? No, I'm in show business. I'm looking for an agent. Kramer wants me to be his client. Suddenly, George's face lights up. Wait a minute. I know who you are. Who? You're Jillian, the illusionist Kramer was raving about. Am I right? Yes, I'm a female illusionist. Like Melinda, the one in Las Vegas? I suppose so, though I've never been to Vegas. Please, come in. George steps inside. You must be new to the business, George comments. Yes. How did you know? You look so young, George observes, but he refrains from mentioning Kramer's legal troubles. I'm still a student, Jillian explains. Oh, where do you study? Columbia. I'm hoping Kramer can help me find some work to cover tuition and living expenses. So where's Jerry? And Kramer? George asks. They're discussing Jerry's contract in his room, Jillian says, taking a seat on the couch. Kramer wanted to review the legal document. Jillian gestures to the seat next to her, and George sits down. Oh, Kramer is probably worried about a contract breach, George suggests. You know, Kramer knows a thing or two about lawsuits. His expression turns serious. Kramer knows about lawsuits, huh? Jillian inquires. Yes, lawsuits are deeply ingrained in American culture. It's practically in the Constitution. Every American has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And that pursuit includes the right to sue anyone for almost anything. Jillian laughs at George's exaggerated cynicism. What makes you so knowledgeable about legal issues? She asks. It's just part of the business, George replies. So what do you do for a living? Jillian inquires. I work for the Yankees. Really? Yes, I'm an executive assistant to George Steinbrenner. Wow, that's so exciting. George considers exaggerating but decides to be honest, with a touch of humor. Baseball has been very, very good to me, he says, mimicking Garrett Morris from Saturday Night Live. Jillian smiles. I work in the Yankees front office, George continues. I love my job. It's more than I ever imagined, and I look forward to going to work every day. Oh, I'm such a fan. I've loved the Yankees since I was a kid, watching them on TV, listening to the games on the radio, and even going to Yankee Stadium. I adore baseball. Me too. It's the best job I could ask for. That's amazing, Jillian exclaims. Seeing an opportunity, George suggests, the Red Sox are in town tomorrow. Would you like to come to the game? You can be my guest. Would I? That would be fantastic. We can sit in the box next to George Steinbrenner if you'd like. That would be wonderful. You're so kind. Jillian leans over and gives George a warm hug, showering him with kisses on the cheek. In her enthusiasm, one kiss lands on George's lips. He looks surprised at first, then his expression changes to one of delight as Jillian's innocent kiss turns into a passionate French kiss. She gently pushes him back on the couch. Just then, the door to Jerry's room opens. Jillian and George sit up straight, startled. Oh, how interesting, Jillian exclaims. Yes, the Yankees are part of the entertainment business, George improvises. Very much like show business. That's why I want to be in show business, Jillian continues. I want to perform for people, bring joy into their lives, and create fun for the audience. I'm sure you'll succeed. But it's tough. As the song says about New York, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. I hope so, Jillian replies. Jerry and Kramer notice Jillian and George in a seemingly intimate moment on the couch, with Jillian appearing to be playfully caressing George's ear. So it looks like you two have been getting acquainted? Jerry comments. Yes, Jillian replies as she magically pulls a $100 bill from George's ear. Just showing George a little trick. For the next half hour, Kramer and Jillian finalize their contract details, reviewing Jerry's previous agreement with his former agent. They settle on a 6-month trial period with a 10% commission. Later, Jillian, wearing a summery white dress and a Yankees cap, walks arm in arm with George down the aisle to their box seats near the Yankees dugout on the first base side. George, basking in the attention from onlookers, enjoys the sunny day. The team owner, George Steinbrenner, spots them and approaches. Hi, George. Hello, Mr. Steinbrenner, George replies. I'd like you to meet a true Yankees fan, Jillian. Nice to meet you, Mr. Steinbrenner says, shaking Jillian's hand and kissing the back of it. He then glances appreciatively at her. It's a pleasure, Mr. Steinbrenner, Jillian responds. As Jillian sits down next to George, Mr. Steinbrenner leans in and whispers, "You're one lucky guy, Costanza." Jillian's quite a catch. Looking good. He gives George a congratulatory pat on the back. Thank you, Mr. Steinbrenner, George replies with a hint of pride. George revels in the moment, feeling on top of the world. He's on a date with what he considers the most beautiful woman in New York, seated in prime box seats, and chatting with the Yankees owner. Jillian seems equally impressed. As the game starts, George's nervousness fades. He shares insider baseball trivia with Jillian, such as how Derek Jeter got his first name, El Duque's preferred tequila, and the extent of Roger Clemens' fastball decline. Jillian, a baseball fan, eagerly absorbs the information. Let me guess, George says to Jillian. Your favorite player is Derek Jeter. Yeah, he's so charming. All the girls and boys love him. I used to play shortstop in elementary school, so it's natural that Jeter is my top favorite. How did you guess? Because you already knew that Jeter was named after former Boston Bruins player Derek Sanderson when I mentioned it. You're so perceptive, George. No wonder Mr. Steinbrenner holds you in such high regard, Jillian says, hugging him. If you'd like, after the game, we can head to the Yankees locker room. I can't get you in, but I might be able to get an autograph or arrange a quick chat with some players after they're done with the fans. Do they know you, George? George initially considers exaggerating but opts for honesty. I'm not close with them, but they know who I am. That sounds fantastic, George, Jillian says, giving him a thank you kiss on the cheek. I've never felt this special at Yankee Stadium. I feel like a VIP. Thanks, Jillian. You're a very important person to me, George says, leaning in to kiss her softly. Jillian responds warmly. George is astounded by how perfectly everything is unfolding. Jillian, in her sunglasses, baseball cap, and sundress, looks stunning. To George, she's a genuine temptress, particularly with her alluring, melodious voice. She seems to enjoy his company, and their conversation flows effortlessly. Despite this, George can't shake his self-doubt. He thinks, whenever I like a girl, she doesn't like me back, and when she does like me, I'm not interested. It doesn't make sense, but it's always been this way. So why does Jillian seem to genuinely like me? Maybe she just thinks I'm nice, but everyone knows nice guys finish last. As a hot dog vendor approaches, George raises his arm to signal him over. Jillian, would you like a hot dog? Yes, please. 2 hot dogs, with all the fixings. George hands the vendor the money and gives Jillian her hot dog. There's nothing like the atmosphere of a Saturday afternoon at the ballpark, Jillian comments. I'm surprised you wanted one, George says. A lot of women are so focused on their weight that they wouldn't even consider it. Not me. It brings back childhood memories. Coming to Yankee Stadium was the highlight of summer. I always brought my glove, hoping to catch a foul ball, or if we were in the outfield stands, I'd pray for a home run. Did you ever catch one? Don Mattingly hit a home run to right field. It landed about 3 rows in front of me and bounced right over my head. But with all the older kids and adults scrambling for the ball, I didn't stand a chance. I wish I had those kinds of memories with my parents, although I did have some good times with friends here. Didn't your parents bring you to the games? Jillian asks. Occasionally. George, recalling his parents' constant yelling, tries to change the subject. If you didn't catch any baseballs, did you ever get any autographs? I was lucky. Check out my hat. I only wear it on special occasions. Jillian removes her baseball cap, revealing her long blonde hair. George marvels at her beauty and the effect she has on him. She shows him the inside of her cap. You have Don Mattingly's signature? George asks. Yes. That's impressive. And so are you, George. Until today, I never met the Yankees owner or sat in the box seats. You're quite fortunate. Jillian gives George's arm a squeeze and a grateful kiss on the cheek. After the game, in the halls of Yankee Stadium, George introduces Jillian to Derek Jeter, who emerges from the locker room. A crowd of fans is buzzing, but George and Jillian are at the front thanks to George's job. Hey George, Derek Jeter says. What brings you here? I'm here with a guest, George replies proudly. Security guards work to control the crowd as fans shout Derek's name. I'd like you to meet Jillian, George says. Seeing the beautiful Jillian with George, Derek Jeter gives George a high five and smiles. A pleasure to meet you, says the young star. I'm your biggest fan, Jillian gushes. Great game today, Derek. Thanks. Noticing Jillian's program, Derek Jeter pulls out a pen and autographs it. Jillian's beaming face is on the cover. Thank you, Jillian says. Thanks, Derek, adds George. My pleasure. Jillian is clearly impressed. However, due to the crowd of fans surrounding the baseball superstar, George and Jillian are unable to continue their conversation with Derek Jeter. They move away from the line and into the corridor beneath the stands. From George's perspective, the brief meeting with Derek Jeter went exactly as planned. Jeter hit 2 home runs, drove in 4 runs, and the Yankees defeated the Red Sox 5-3, stats that are hard to top. Later that week, Jillian, George, Kramer, Elaine, and Jerry are hanging out backstage at your mama's comedy club. I have to admit, Kramer, you really came through, Jerry says. I've never performed at this club before. Well, you wanted to try new venues, so I found a few alternatives, Kramer replies. And this is certainly an alternative nightclub, Jerry acknowledges. So what if your mama's is a gay and lesbian club? Kramer counters. That happens sometimes in Greenwich Village, Jerry says. Not that there's anything wrong with being gay or lesbian. I did ask for new places, and your mama's is definitely somewhere I've never been. It'll broaden your audience, Kramer suggests. I couldn't be happier, Jillian says. I'm grateful for the opportunity. Jillian gives Kramer a warm hug. Hey, everyone, Elaine says, it's almost showtime. We should head out front. We'll catch up with you later. George hugs Jillian and says, break a leg, gorgeous, while sneaking a glance at the neckline of her low-cut little black dress. Jillian kisses George on both cheeks. Thanks, I'll give it my best. A few minutes later, Kramer, George, and Elaine are at the back bar of the club. The venue, once a small cinema, has been newly renovated. The stage now occupies the space where the movie screen used to be, and the sloped floor is terraced with 6 different seating levels. Chairs and narrow tables have replaced the theater seats, and there's a selection of drinks available. The place is packed, with standing room only. The excitement in the air is palpable. Kramer estimates there are around 600 people in a space with a 500-person capacity. The theme music, There's No Business Like Show Business, plays, and the audience settles down. It's hard to hear anything over Ethel Merman's booming voice. The crowd looks around for the MC, who makes his entrance from stage left. A middle-aged black man in a suit and tie approaches the microphone. The audience erupts in applause as the music fades. Good evening, everyone, the MC announces in a deep, resonant voice. How's everyone doing tonight? Cheers, hoots, and hollers fill the room. I'm Benson Carver, and I'll be your master of ceremonies tonight. The crowd applauds enthusiastically. There's a lot of energy in the house. What happened? Did everyone take a vow of celibacy? You know that doesn't work, just ask a few thousand Roman Catholic priests. The audience roars with laughter. For those of you who are new here, it's too late to escape. If you are worried about your reputation, worry no more. If people thought you were straight before, forget it. Once you walked into this place, you switch teams. You have zero credibility now. You're as queer as a lactose-intolerant lesbian with silicone implants. The crowd responds with uproarious approval. Speaking of switching things up, we've got some fresh talent in the house tonight. New to your mamas, we have the hottest new act in New York, Jillian. She's the best illusionist you'll ever see. Jillian will blow you away, and if that doesn't do it, she might just blow you. And let me tell you, she's a dazzling beauty. You girls and guys are going to love her, or wish you could. The audience erupts in excitement. And joining us tonight is New York's favorite comedian, the very funny Jerry Seinfeld, who you've seen on TV and at the top comedy clubs all over town. What's he doing here at your mama's? Let's give him a warm welcome. The applause grows louder. The MC then introduces the rest of the lineup for the evening. The first performer is a lesbian drag king who delivers a hilarious routine, switching from a you know you're a redneck when themed to a you know you're straight when performance. Elaine, George, and Kramer, initially a bit stiff, gradually relax and start enjoying the show. As the first act concludes, Benson Carver, the MC, returns to the stage. He enters with a noticeable limp, dragging his right leg as if it were injured, and a pronounced hump on his right shoulder. Let's give a big round of applause for Whistlin' Dixie. Wasn't Dixie fantastic? The crowd cheers loudly. Still hunched over, Benson Carver begins his routine. When I was a young boy in Dixie, Atlanta, Georgia to be exact, I thought I might be straight. The audience chuckles. Yeah, I know I'm a hunchback, but I'm not bent. I discovered I was straight at a young age. My mama warned me not to look at unclothed women, telling me I'd turn to stone. One day, I went to a friend's house, but no one answered the door. I peeked through a side window and saw my friend's mom in the bathroom, taking off her clothes. I was curious but terrified, thinking I might turn to stone. As she removed her nylons and bra, I was excited but petrified. When her panties hit the floor and she was completely unclothed, I thought I turned to stone. The audience laughs heartily. I was so scared, I fell off the fence and landed on my back. My family was poor, so I didn't get the medical care I needed, and my back didn't heal properly. But now I'm a straight hunchback, the hunchback of shame. The crowd applauds thunderously, loving the performance. Kramer feels satisfied with booking his 2 clients, Jerry and Jillian, into your mamas. Earlier, I mentioned we have the hottest act in New York tonight. You'll remember the first time you saw this blonde bombshell, the goddess of magic and illusion. Let's give a warm welcome to the amazing Jillian. The audience responds with enthusiastic applause. A gold, jewel-encrusted bottle descends from the curtains above, hovering about 3 feet over the stage. It follows Benson Carver as he walks off stage. The audience chuckles at the sight of the floating bottle trailing him. Sensing something unusual behind him, Carver turns around, spots the levitating bottle, and reaches out with a puzzled expression to grab it. Suddenly, the ruby crown on the bottle pops off, releasing a thick plume of smoke that quickly engulfs Carver. Moments later, a pink-clad genie appears. Dressed in a harem outfit reminiscent of Barbara Eden from My Dream of Jeannie, with a pink fez, light veils, and golden hair framing her angelic face, she looks strikingly like Eden. Good evening, Master, the genie exclaims in a cheerful tone. Thank you for freeing me from the bottle. I've been trapped in endless reruns for years. I'm Jeannie, the genie of Major Anthony Nelson's golden bottle. I'm here to serve you. Whatever you wish, my master, is my command. What a delightful surprise! Benson Carver says, eyeing her with evident interest. Jeannie turns to the audience, acknowledging their enthusiastic applause. You're here to serve me? Carver asks eagerly. This is going to be great. I can't wait to see how you grant my wishes. Master, your wish is my command, Jeannie replies. First, I want you to straighten my back, Carver requests. Jeannie folds her arms and blinks with a soft musical chime. Instantly, Carver's back straightens, the hump disappearing. Thank you, Carver says gratefully. Thank you, Jeannie. You're welcome, Master. A bright flash erupts, and the stage is shrouded in smoke. As the fog clears, Jeannie has vanished. Jeannie, come back! Wait! Come back! Carver calls out. Turning to the audience, he says, I knew it was too good to be true. I didn't even get 3 wishes. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, here is the very sexy, glamorous, and magical mistress of illusion, Jillian. Jillian! The crowd erupts in wild applause, cheers, and hollers. The lights go out, plunging the club into darkness. The crowd quiets down as the Beach Boys' Surfing USA blasts from the sound system, mixed with the sounds of crashing surf. If everybody had an ocean across the USA, then everybody'd be surfing. Like California. A spotlight illuminates stage right. Jillian, in a golden bikini and long blonde hair, appears atop a surfboard that seems to float above the stage. She shouts, "Surf's up," as her surfboard glides across the stage. Everybody's going surfing. Surfing, USA. Balancing with her arms out, Jillian crouches as if riding a massive wave, creating a scene reminiscent of Blue Crush. She speeds across the stage, gracefully maneuvering on her board. We'll all be gone for the summer. We're on safari to stay. Tell the teacher we're surfing. Surfing, USA. Approaching the edge of the stage, Jillian steps to the back of the surfboard, flips it up, and then collapses onto it, paddling back to the center. All over La Jolla and Waimea Bay. Everybody's gone surfing. Surfing, USA. The roar of an approaching wave fills the air. Jillian gazes up at the imaginary tsunami, then expertly rolls the surfboard over her body to dodge the oncoming wave. As the colossal wave crashes down, she flips the board back upright and resumes paddling furiously through the surging waters. Everybody's gone surfing. Surfing, USA. At center stage, Jillian stops paddling and slides off the surfboard. Standing with the board at chest level, she gives it a powerful shove, sending it gliding 4 feet above the stage, across to stage right. The song Surfin' USA fades into the background. The audience goes wild, cheering and clapping enthusiastically. They're astonished by the incredible levitation trick and captivated by Jillian's stunning appearance. She certainly knows how to rock a bikini. As the lights brighten, Jillian bows to the audience amidst roaring applause. She then picks up the wireless microphone from its stand. Behind her stands a large black box, the only prop on stage. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jillian, she announces. The crowd cheers louder. What a vibrant crowd! It's such a pleasure to perform for such enthusiastic people. So, how did you like the surfing illusion? She pauses for more applause. The idea for the surfing illusion came from watching the classic teen film Gidget Goes Hawaiian. Remember the Gidget movies? In that film, Deborah Wally never actually touched the water while surfing. Well, I'll confess there was no magical levitation in my act. The real secret behind the surfboard was the hunchback of shame, Benson Quasimodo Carver. The crowd erupts in approval. At the back bar, Kramer leans over to George. I told you she was amazing, didn't I? Enthralled by Jillian's beauty, George nods. Absolutely breathtaking. Jillian continues, while I love wearing a bikini, I feel a bit underdressed. So, please excuse me while I step into my changing room for a moment. She opens the door of the large, red satin-lined box and steps inside, closing the door behind her. As she does, the box begins to rotate. I feel like Clark Kent changing into Superman in a phone booth. But Superman's an exhibitionist. The phone booth has glass sides, so nothing's hidden. And blue tights with a red cape? You don't need a gaydar to catch that fashion statement, am I right? The box completes a full turn. Jillian opens the door and steps out, now wearing a glittering silver chainmail evening gown. The low neckline, her slim arms, tiny waist, flaring hips, and long, curvaceous legs in the revealing chainmail captivate the audience. Jillian is a vision of beauty. The audience responds with enthusiastic applause. It's such a tiny patch of material, I feel like I'm airing the Emperor's new clothes, Jillian quips. The crowd laughs. Oh, you actually like it? I made it from a guard's outfit I borrowed from the Tower of London. The crowd chuckles politely. You've heard of the Tower of London, right? It's where they keep the crown jewels. It also served as a prison where they tortured prisoners on racks and even beheaded people. Do you know what they call the guards there? They're called beefeaters. And let me tell you, after seeing those beefeaters, I nearly lost my head. I wanted to chain a male guard to a rack, taste his crown jewels, and eat his beefy tower. The audience erupts in cheers, hoots, and hollers. I think we've got a few fetishists and sadomasochists in this lively crowd, Jillian remarks, eliciting a hearty roar from the mentioned group. As the applause subsides, the comedy club dims once more, the lights gradually fading. For the next illusion, I need a volunteer, Jillian announces. She quickly selects someone from the front row. A muscular young man, clearly a bodybuilder, steps forward and climbs the stage. His black t-shirt strains over his defined pectorals, but hangs loosely around his sculpted six-pack abs. "Hi, thanks for volunteering. What's your name?" Jillian asks. "Andy," the young man replies. "Andy the eye candy," Jillian jokes, giving his biceps a playful squeeze. The crowd responds with appreciative whistles and catcalls. "For this illusion, I need a few props. Andy, could you grab those metal hoops at the front of the stage and bring them up to me?" Andy steps forward, bending to pick up the hoops. Jillian adds, "Nice tush," causing a few hearts in the crowd to flutter. Andy hands the 6 silver hoops to Jillian with a smile. Back in the late 1950s, the hula hoop craze took America by storm. Everyone had one. "Now, Andy, I'd like you to put a hoop over your head and lower it to your waist like this. That's it. Now swivel your hips and keep it going. You've had plenty of practice keeping it up, haven't you, Andy?" The crowd chuckles at the double entendre as both Andy and Jillian spin the hoops around their waists. "Eye candy indeed. Most people think hula hooping is easy, but I'm going to make it a bit more challenging for myself," Jillian continues, lifting her right leg to keep a hoop spinning. "Oh, Andy, I was hoping you'd have a bit more staying power," she teases as Andy's hoop falls to the floor. Jillian then places another hoop around her left arm and spins it effortlessly. "I've always struggled with the hoop around my neck," she says, spinning 4 hoops with her waist and another with her right arm. "There, 5 hoops at once." The audience gives polite applause as Jillian keeps all the hoops in motion. Andy struggles to get his hoop spinning again, but it clatters to the floor. "Wondering how I'll get out of this?" Jillian asks, gyrating her body seductively. She pauses, then tosses the hoops around her arms high into the air, followed by the leg hoop, the neck hoop, and finally the waist hoop. All 5 hoops descend simultaneously. With practiced grace, Jillian snatches them out of the air before they can hit the stage. She holds the 5 hoops aloft briefly before taking a well-deserved bow. The crowd applauds warmly. "Thank you," Jillian says. "Let's give a big round of applause for Andy." The audience responds with enthusiastic applause as Andy returns to his seat. Jillian then tosses the hoops high into the air above the stage, where they seem to vanish into the curtains. This time, the hoops don't return. The crowd laughs. "Oh, I nearly forgot about Andy's hula hoop," Jillian remarks, bending down to retrieve it. As she straightens up, she flings the hoop out into the audience, frisbee style. There's a collective gasp of surprise as it appears to disintegrate and disappear. "How did she do that?" murmurs through the crowd. From stage left, a large wooden box floats across the stage toward Jillian. "For my next illusion, I'm going to attempt to saw someone in half. Are there any brave souls, volunteers, who'd like to assist me with this performance?" Jillian scans the audience, searching for a volunteer. "Yes, the young lady over here on the side," she says, as a volunteer rushes to the stage eagerly. In the spotlight, the 20-something brunette, clad in a stylish dark blue pantsuit, waves to the audience. "Hello, thank you for stepping forward," Jillian greets. "And what's your name?" "Annie," replies the young woman into the microphone. "Annie. Well, tonight we have the Andy and Annie show. By the way, you don't know Andy, do you?" "No." "That's unfortunate for you, but good for me. Sometimes people think the illusionist picks plants from the audience. But I've never met you before, have I?" "I don't think so." "Great, now that we've cleared that up, have you prepared your last will and testament?" "No, should I?" "It's probably not necessary. A young person like you likely has nothing but debts anyway." "You're right," Annie agrees with a smile. The audience laughs along with Annie. This illusion is quite straightforward. I'll ask you to lie down in this magician's box, strap you in, and then saw the box in half. It's a simple trick you've probably seen before, right? Yes, I've seen it, but I've never done it myself. Are you sure it's safe? The medical prognosis is good. All right. Okay, Annie, step up here and lie down in the box. That's it, Jillian assists her. Annie lies down in the magically levitated box, which has no visible supports. Now, Annie, to assure the audience that you're still with us, we'll have your feet sticking out one end and your arms extended above your head so we can see your hands at the other end. Annie settles into the box, and Jillian closes the top. The audience sees Annie's hands and feet protruding from either end. All right, Annie, wiggle your feet to let everyone know you're still there. Annie's feet move vigorously. Now, give us a wave with both hands, Jillian instructs. Annie's hands flutter back and forth. Good. Are you getting enough air to breathe? Jillian asks. From inside the box, a muffled yes is heard. Jillian spins the box around once, demonstrating that it isn't supported by any hidden pulls. After completing the spin, Jillian reaches underneath the floating box and retrieves a large, shiny metallic blade. This blade will be positioned directly above the center of the box. When I press it into this slot, it will split the box in two. Are you ready, Annie? A muffled yes comes from inside the box. Suddenly, a drum roll plays over the club's sound system. Jillian drops the sharp blade into the slot with a dramatic motion. There's a piercing scream, "Ayaha!" The blade slices through the box with a loud clunk of metal on wood. The box splits into two halves. The feet end falls to the stage first, followed by the hands end. The two halves then scurry off in opposite directions, like something out of a cartoon. The crowd erupts in excitement with thunderous applause. As the house lights gradually brighten, Jillian reassures the audience, "Don't worry, ladies and gentlemen. Annie has gone to a better place." Suddenly, the audience gasps as Annie, balanced on 5 silver hoops bound together, descends from the ceiling. The scene is pure chaos and entirely unexpected. Back already? Jillian asks, grinning. I bet you didn't know you could walk on your hands? Annie laughs as she descends, her feet touching the floor. The hoops retract back up to the ceiling. Should I reveal how you did it? Annie teases. You're now a member of the Secret Order of Magicians and Illusionists, Jillian says with a wink. You're sworn to secrecy. But honestly, there's no trick, it's real magic. Annie shakes her head, amused. Be careful, Annie, or I'll say the magic words, Rumpelstiltskin, and you might turn into a wretched old man, Jillian warns playfully. Annie laughs. Let me tell you about the curse of Rumpelstiltskin, Jillian continues. Ever been so drunk that you stumble home, pass out in your clothes, like your fabulous pantsuit here, and wake up with a hangover, dehydrated, and looking like you've been through a meat grinder? That's what we call Rumpelstiltskin. And that's what will happen if I say the magic words Rumpelstiltskin 3 times. But thank you, Annie, for your help. Let's give a big round of applause for the extraordinary Annie, the newest member of the Secret Order of Magicians and Illusionists. As Annie heads back to her seat, the crowd applauds enthusiastically. At the back bar, Elaine shouts over the noise, "Isn't Jillian amazing?" "Incredible," agrees Kramer. "She's fantastic," George adds. The closet at the back of the stage glides forward as if by Jillian's command. A makeup table and a chair emerge from the wings, converging around Jillian at center stage. As Jillian steps into the closet for the final time, the house lights begin to dim and the large black box starts to rotate slowly. To pull off these costume changes, I need the speed of a superhero. Remember how Linda Carter did her transformation? Diana Prince spun around like a white tornado and, a thunderclap sound effect, out came Wonder Woman. I recorded that scene on my VCR and played it back in slow motion. Guess what? She never took off all her clothes. It was totally fake. There are knowing chuckles from those in the audience who've also tried the slow motion replay trick. Ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, Jillian continues. Tonight's show has been a dazzling display of magic and illusion. We've taken a few volunteers from the audience, ordinary folks, and performed a little hocus-pocus for your enjoyment. Remember, anyone can be a part of the illusion. The door of the closet swings open, and Jillian steps into the spotlight, enveloped in swirling smoke. She's now clad in a classic black velvet dress with a deep plunging neckline that barely contains her ample curves. Amidst the mist, she struts forward, twirling her cane and tipping her top hat. Her dress reveals a flash of her curvaceous leg as she pivots on her stiletto heels. Her dazzling smile lights up the stage. As the music begins, its haunting melody strikes a familiar chord. The mood shifts as a focused spotlight centers on Jillian. She moves to the front, offering the audience a closer look at her sultry dress and perfect figure. She begins to sing. My mom and I, we live alone. In a great apartment, our home. In Fairholme Towers. To keep me company. 2 dogs, a cat, a parakeet. Some plants and flowers. It's clear, Jillian is the most radiant presence at your mama's comedy club tonight. All eyes are on her. I help my mother with the chores. I wash, she dries, I do the floors. We work together. I shop and cook and sew a bit. Though Mum does too, I must admit. I do it better. Jillian glides over to the makeup table and sits down, continuing in her beautiful, soaring alto voice. At night I work in a strange bar. Impersonating every star. I'm quite deceiving. Customers come in with doubt. And wonder what I'm all about. But leave believing. She removes her false eyelashes and picks up a soft cloth soaked in baby oil, gently rubbing it over her face. The crowd buzzes as her beautifully accentuated features gradually disappear. I do a very special show. Where I am not wearing anything from head to toe. After stripteasing. Jillian stands up, reaching up to slip a thin strap off her right shoulder. There's a momentary pause as she smiles alluringly. With a graceful shrug, the dress cascades to the floor, eliciting an audible gasp as her ample chest seems to disappear along with the black velvet. Each night the men look so surprised. I change my gender before their eyes. Jillian removes her cascade of blonde curls to reveal short dark blonde hair underneath. What appeared to be a skin-colored panty conceals Jillian's private areas, but without the silicone enhancements, it's clear the slim body belongs to a male. Tell me if you can. What makes a man a man? Jillian slips off her black stiletto heels and pulls on a pair of black pants. My masquerade comes to an end. And I go home to bed again. Alone and friendless. Jillian dons a pair of loafers and a dark gray shirt. I know my life is not a crime. I'm just a victim of my time. I stand defenseless. Jillian glances toward the distant back bar, where her gaze seems to lock onto George Costanza's sheepish expression. Tell me if you can. What makes a man a man? Jillian takes a bow, and the crowd rises in unison, delivering a thunderous standing ovation. The applause is deafening, filled with enthusiastic cheers. The poignant lyrics by Charles Aznavour and Bradford Craig have never been performed so powerfully. As Jillian exits the stage, Benson Carver greets her with a big bear hug, which prompts another peak in the applause. Ladies and gentlemen, Benson Carver announces, that was Miss Jillian. Wasn't she out of this world? She had me completely fooled. Benson Carver turns to someone in the front row. Wait a minute, are you saying Miss Jillian is really a drag king? She's a woman posing as a female impersonator? Like Victor/Victoria? Honey, Julie Andrews never looked that sexy. I mean, Miss Jillian is hot. For goodness sake, Julie Andrews was Mary Poppins and Sister Maria in The Sound of Music. Miss Jillian wouldn't look out of place in Charlie's Angels. In fact, she's better looking than any of the current angels. Regardless, Benson Carver continues, whether Miss Jillian is a man or a woman, I don't know and I don't care. Whatever she or he is, Miss Jillian is fantastic. And speaking of great talents in the New York entertainment scene, Your Mama's Comedy Club is thrilled to present the comic you've all been waiting for, Jerry Seinfeld. George Costanza, overwhelmed with humiliation despite Jerry Seinfeld being on stage, bolts out of the club. His mind races with confusion and frustration. Asterisk, how could Jillian deceive me like this? I thought she was a beautiful woman, but she's actually a man. We even kissed after the Yankees game. I can't believe it. Jillian was so alluring. It feels like a nightmare. This can't be happening to me, asterisk. George slumps against the wall outside Your Mama's Comedy Club, oblivious to the cool night air. Passers-by glance at him, but he barely registers their presence. He debates whether to go back in to face his friends or catch a cab home. As time drags on, George replays the events of the past week: Kramer's entrance at the coffee shop, the meeting at Jerry's, the Yankees game, backstage at Your Mama's, and finally, the revelation during Jillian's performance of What Makes a Man a Man. This whole Jillian affair feels like a prelude to yet another disaster, George's latest tragicomedy. He finally meets the woman of his dreams, only to discover she's a man. A tap on his shoulder jolts him from his thoughts. Hi, George. It's Jillian, her blonde hair, flawless makeup, and alluring attire restored. She looks stunning. George's initial reaction is to unleash his frustration, but he recalls that maintaining composure has often been his best strategy. He simply responds, Hi, Jillian. I guess that last illusion was quite a shock for you, Jillian says. To say the least, George replies, trying to keep his anger in check. I really thought you were a beautiful woman. Instead, the first time we met, when you mentioned Kramer said I was an illusionist, I clarified that I'm a female illusionist, Jillian explains. Understanding begins to dawn on George. Kramer left out the gender aspect. He never mentioned your most impressive illusion. When you said female illusionist, I compared you to Melinda in Las Vegas, a real woman and magician. I must have thought you were a female impersonator because of the many impersonation shows there, so I assumed you were a man. Yes, anyone who's seen my act knows, Jillian confirms. Absolutely, George agrees. Your act is phenomenal. The illusions, especially the surfing one, are amazing. I'm still baffled by the levitation tricks. It's all smoke, mirrors, misdirection, and a touch of modern technology, Jillian says, holding out a small beige device. With a little sleight of hand and remote-controlled devices, the seemingly impossible becomes possible. I see, George says, eyeing Jillian with newfound respect. Let's start over, George offers, extending his hand. I'm George Costanza. Hi, George, Jillian responds, shaking his hand. I'm Julian Diamond, though many know me as Jillian. They shake hands and head back into Your Mama's together.